What is up, everyone? Crunchy Frog here. And ever since COD 4, the whole way back in 2007, we've basically been getting a yearly COD release every single year. Every 12 months, like clockwork, all of your progress is just thrown to the wind in favor of a brand new shiny toy, the next COD title. Maps are left behind, until remasters come several years down the line, but guns and their relative gun levels are left behind, prestiges, skins, and other purchases are all long forgotten, and everyone just kind of moves on to play the new game. The old games still remain online, and they typically still harbor a faithful community, at least for the next couple years, but accomplishments and content seems to just lose their usefulness. Everyone's immediately focused on the newest game, and suddenly that mastery camo that you worked hours and hours for no longer really matters because it's not usable on the cool new shiny thing. And recently, the community has been asking COD devs to take a year off for several reasons, one of which is to make their accomplishments relevant for just a little bit longer. Gamers, frankly, are tired of abandoning their work and their favorite content, whether it be guns or maps, every 12 months just to play the new game. With the rise in microtransactions, players are also mad that their skins that they paid a lot of money for, believe me, way too much money for, were trapped in the old game, not able to be used going forward, effectively putting an expiration date on their purchases. Yes, you could still play them, but again, it's not in the new game, no one's playing them, no one's looking at those skins really anymore. And in 2022, leaks seem to suggest that for the first time ever, a new game wouldn't actually sweep in and steal the spotlight in the fall. For once, a game would be left to just kind of breathe and live and exist for an extra year. Gamers could enjoy the guns and the maps for another 12 months. People could show off their accomplishments for a little bit longer. And most importantly, the next game would have even longer to bake and mature on the dev cycle. Something that gamers hoped would lead to a much awaited increase in quality for the franchise. However, money focused heads prevailed, and Activision confirmed that once again, the most recent COD would have a successor, less than 12 months after its release. And Modern Warfare 2's days in the spotlight were numbered once again. However, earlier on in the media cycle for Modern Warfare 3, the devs announced that for the first time ever, COD would institute a system known as Carry Forward. Essentially, several items would carry over to from the previous year's game. All guns would carry over, including any progress made to the mastery camo and leveling grind. Maps would also make an appearance, slowly entering into Modern Warfare 3's map pool and playlists. And all purchase skins from Modern Warfare 2022 would be playable day long, along with all of the operators and everything from the previous game. When the community first caught wind of this, we were all ecstatic. Social media went crazy. It seemed that for once, the COD devs were actually listening to our feedback. And while this wasn't as good as actually taking a year off and letting Modern Warfare 2 mature for a bit longer, it was frankly the next best thing. So today, we're about 5 months after the implementation of Carry Forward, so we're going to take a look into the pros and cons and decide if the system was a win or a loss, and see if maybe it's worth entering into the franchise going forward. So as always, guys, if you enjoy content like this, make sure to leave a like. It helps others find the channel as we are trying to grow to 1,000 subscribers. If you enjoy content like this and you want to see more going forward, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And as always, if you would like to support the channel monetarily and contribute to the content creation process, click the join button below and become a paid member to the channel. You'll get exclusive perks, and it really helps me out as I create these videos. So with that all out of the way, let's get right to it. So first off, we'll start with some positivity, and we'll list all of the ways that Carry Forward worked, all of the pros, all of the good things. And the first thing, as I mentioned in the intro there, is they listened to fans. Modern Warfare 3 did a great job of actually taking some community feedback and user feedback and complaints and concerns and wishes and actually implementing them. We've gone over some of the changes, during some of my seasonal news videos and everything like that with Season 1 and Season 2, some of the various things that they've implemented. But this was arguably the biggest thing. Fans had been asking for this for a while, and the COD devs actually listened, which is rare, with Call of Duty, as you know. So many things just fall on deaf ears and nothing gets implemented. But this marked a definite change to how the COD devs kind of interacted with the community. And for once, they actually thought that we had a good idea and they tried to implement it. Next, it really actually, like I said above, it made last year's accomplishments worth it. Now, I, for one, did not go for Interstellar. Back in Modern Warfare 2, I mean, I tried for it. I didn't get that far, and I kind of just trailed off. The 25 long shots really stuck a fork in my ambition. But a lot of people did go for Interstellar, and they achieved it, or at the very least, they got very close, and it made it worth it. They had another 12 months of being able to use their favorite guns with that camo on it, right? And so for once, after 12 months, they didn't just have to drop everything and re-level everything up. So that was really cool. I know my friend used Interstellar. A couple of the games that we played, he'd pull out like a Modern Warfare 2 class with guns from the previous year, and he'd be able to show off that camo. So it was just a little piece that made the hours and hours of work a little more worth it. Being able to strut around your accomplishments for just a little while longer. Now, next up, obviously, this is probably the best aspect of Carry Forward is bringing maps over from Modern Warfare 2, because they added a great deal of replayability to the game, and they kind of filled out the overall content offering. As always, people are always asking for more maps, please bring back maps. And it always seems kind of like a no-brainer to have, the more maps, the better in a game. Stuff gets stale less quickly. The gameplay experience seems more varied, whenever you're playing on 30 maps as opposed to 5 different maps. It just adds a lot more replayability to the game. And I feel like them adding maps from last year that they didn't really have to do much to, maybe they had to run it through the slight tweaks to the engine they've made over the past year or something like that, but with little to no effort, they were able to add a bunch of new content into the game and kind of fill it out overall. It also, kind of to tie in with that, in theory, made the content offering much more robust day one, right? On paper, whenever you see that there's a bunch more operators and there's a bunch more skins and guns and camos to unlock and maps, obviously those came a little later, but you get my point. Everything, suddenly the game on day one feels like much more of a complete game. Now, yes, you could argue that a lot of this is just sliding things over, so it's not really a full game. You're basically just paying for, like many of people have called this, an expansion to Modern Warfare 2 as opposed to a new game. But the overall content offering, the value proposition, is a lot higher than in previous years, as opposed to completely starting over from scratch. And, some years we'd only have 9 maps at launch. Right? In the last, 5 or 10 years, they've really slacked on the map aspect. So stuff like that, or maybe there was only, 30 some guns, whatever the case may be, as opposed to Modern Warfare 3, which effectively launched with, 80 or 90 guns or 100 guns or something like that. And, so many more maps once they added the Modern Warfare 2 maps in, and, a bunch of operators and a bunch of cool skins and stuff like that. In just day one, it already seemed like much more of a complete game, because it was able to piggyback off of the past 12 months of, the full release of Modern Warfare 2 and any DLC and, seasonal content that came out with that. It also adds kind of value to the skin purchases, right? Before, if you went in and bought a skin for $20 or bought the battle pass for $10 or whatever the case may be, the value is kind of diminished because, like I said earlier, effectively, you knew by the end of October or middle of November the next year, no one would give a crap. The player count would drop drastically as everyone moved on to the next game. And, you were really only playing the game because you liked that game. So stuff like skins and other cosmetics and showing off was not really a thing anymore. So with this, everything being able to carry over day one, it kind of added value. You essentially now had 2 years worth to get your fill, so to speak, of the various purchases that you made, whether it be battle pass content or straight up skins or weapon blueprints that you had bought through the store. I will say one of the cool things as well about this carry forward is it did allow me, even if it was just briefly, to continue my Interstellar grind. So like I had said before, I had gotten all guns gold in the game in Modern Warfare 2. I got, I think, about 15 guns platinum. I was working my way to start doing the next, series of challenges. I forget what it was called. It was the purple camo. Please excuse, I don't remember the exact name of the camo. Polyatomic, that's what it was. And so, but I kind of just grinded to a halt because I didn't want to do 25 long shots for every single weapon. So I just gave up on it with a couple months left before Modern Warfare 3. However, knowing that I would be able to use those guns and progress those camo challenges once I got to the new game and play the new game and the new maps and everything like that and still advance that challenges was actually awesome. I actually did get a couple more guns platinum before I just gave up on that as well. But it was a lot easier. Some of these maps, as a matter of fact, especially in hardcore, getting long shots, in my mind, as a side note here, is like 10 times easier than it was in the maps of Modern Warfare 2. So it kind of made those challenges a little easier. Like I said, I got 2 or 3 more guns platinum without really trying all that hard, maybe only playing a day or two on that grind. So I think if I'd really tried, I could have gotten Interstellar a lot easier. And actually, completed that mastery grind as well. I didn't end up doing it, but it was nice to know that I didn't have to go back to the other game that nobody was playing and try to level up there. I could enjoy all the new stuff, play on all the new maps, enjoy, leveling up the battle pass and everything like that, and still work on that Interstellar grind if I so chose. And then finally here, as another positive thing to come out of all this, it added more content to the zombie offering because with all the new guns, all the Modern Warfare 2 guns got their own set of zombie mastery camos. So, if you really wanted to, and I'm not sure how many people did this, but if you wanted to get the mastery camo in zombies, there was an entire another, camo grind as well to go back through and do on all of the Modern Warfare 2 guns. So it added just a bunch more replayability to that mode as well. I did enjoy the zombie offering, not my favorite, not, a traditional zombie offering by any stretch of the imagination, but anything you can do to add more grind or more incentive to play the mode is awesome. And I think having those guns in there as an option for you to level up and get camos for, I thought that was really cool. So that all the way, obviously not everything worked very well and not everything was perfect about the carry forward system. So now we'll start talking about some of the cons or some of the ways that it just really did not work out. Obviously the first one is, and this is more of a personal gripe, and I know not everyone feels this way, but a decent amount of us are, call us boomers if you want, but starting day one and having Nicki Minaj and 21 Savage in my lobbies and all of the tie-ins with all of the, Homelander and all those crossover events and stuff, it just kind of ruined it for me. In recent years, since the kind of explosion of microtransactions, starting on that new game was like a clean slate, and everything was like cool and milsim and kind of the way that I envisioned Call of Duty and what I wish Call of Duty would be before, the inevitable season 2 or season 3 or 4 or whatever explosion of, stupid crossover skins and you're fighting Godzilla next and then you're fighting Pokemon in the next DLC or whatever. It was nice to just have that starting over point every year. Obviously this is not the case this year because everyone was able to drag their super overpriced skins over from Modern Warfare 2, and so the very first match I loaded up, I remembered looking to my left, there was 2 Nicki Minaj skins, and then on the other team there was the 21 Savage skin, and I think one of the other like crossover skins as well, and it was just like, again, this is super small, nitpick. This is more so my personal preference. I know if you asked a bunch of other people, they'd probably count this as a pro. And I did even talk about it being a pro earlier, that these people were able to get more mileage out of their skins. But just for me, it kind of ruined the ambiance, especially around the launch window. But that could just be me, yelling, "Get off my lawn" type stuff. So next up, one of the biggest things at launch, and I haven't played it much in the last couple of weeks, so I'm not sure if that's still the case. But Modern Warfare 2 guns were like pitifully underpowered and kind of pointless in the meta around launch. And a lot of that had to do with like the change to 150 health. They didn't scale them very well because the Modern Warfare 2 guns were built for 100 health, typical, very fast TTK. And they moved them up to, the 150 health. And I just don't think it translated very well. And so they were just kind of underpowered and pointless. Like, I don't think there was too many guns that you could use that would hold up to the Modern Warfare 3 guns. Almost all the Modern Warfare 3 guns were, as a whole, better, or at least one of the new guns were enough to outclass all of the Modern Warfare 2 guns, stuff like that. So that was just kind of pointless. And even if they were competitive, a lot of people didn't use them, including myself, because you were too busy, leveling up the new guns, right? Like, the game, Call of Duty as a whole, is still tied so hard into progression that, no one wants to, quote unquote, waste their time or be inefficient by using old guns. Like, sure, I really loved the Modern Warfare 2 M4 and a couple of the other guns from that game, but using them might be fun in terms of I feel comfortable. Maybe I get a good, better stats with them or what have you. But, it just kind of seemed like I would be wasting my time when I could have that time be better spent leveling up the new guns, right? They gave us 36 or 35 guns at launch that we needed to grind through, and all of them had 30 levels and, hours and hours of progression for each weapon. So you might as well not waste your time. So that just disincentivized, but between that and the underpowered nature of it, it just totally disincentivized using them at all. I think I kept one class at the launch window with Modern Warfare 2 guns. I hardly, if ever, used it. Maybe once every 25 matches I would use it. And it just, and it's kind of the same thing that we've all done, even dating back to like Black Ops 2 when certain, some of these systems were implemented. But, wherein, like, even if you get a weapon level to max, like in the new game, you just kind of move on, right? Or if you got the gun gold, you just stopped using it because you wanted to get other guns leveled up or, get the camos for them, stuff like that. So this is not something new. And so whenever these new guns were added, it was just kind of like, okay, well, I don't really want to play with the old ones right now anyways. I have bigger fish to fry, essentially. So it kind of kind of proved that maybe not all aspects of this are really as good as we, the community, think they would be. And next up, to kind of tie in with that, is the meta just got extremely complicated with so many guns, right? You don't have to be a game developer to know that having, 5 guns in a game is a lot easier to balance than, 200, right? And in this case, with them adding, 60 or 70 weapons from Modern Warfare 2, like, just having that sheer amount of weapons that you have to try to make all of them feel unique and different, but they all have to be fair and nothing can be overpowered or too underpowered and stuff like that in a competitive multiplayer shooter like COD is, it doesn't work out. Right, and things start feeling the same. Things are just reskins of one another, especially with the like aftermarket parts where you could essentially just turn a gun into another gun, and lines started getting blurred and everything like that because you run out of ways to make stuff feel unique, or you run out of ways to make stuff feel to create parity between these guns, right? Something's going to become overpowered or something's going to become useless. Otherwise, everything's going to feel the same. And that's just, kind of a byproduct of having so many. And so I think carrying forward that many weapons kind of hurt that. And I'm sure the developers kind of hated their lives. I remember one of the developers making a comment about Warzone. At a certain point, whenever they had like 3 games worth of guns in them, it just being a nightmare. Both on the coding side of things, with everything, but also the balance side of things. You're right, trying to create a meta for 100 or 120 weapons or something like that, 150 weapons. It's just insane. I can't personally imagine trying to do something like that. And, so it just kind of led to issues with that. And like we talked about the point above, a lot of the Modern Warfare 2 guns just ended up being kind of utter dog shit, to be completely honest with you, at least at launch. I think they've tried to buff them since then. Now, this is kind of a thing looking forward, so not necessarily something that affects this game, but if they were to try to implement this system in a future game, it could really lead to an identity crisis with different guns. Obviously, again, not in this case because Modern Warfare 3 is essentially just a continuation of Modern Warfare 2. And as such, it doesn't really matter if you drag any of the guns or maps over from last game because it fits. It's still in universe. It still fits the tone and the ambiance of the game and the time period and everything like that. But if they were to try to introduce this in a future game, right, if they try to do carryover between I don't know, Vanguard and Modern Warfare 2. I mean, that would have been stupid. And I've already put out a video a while back about, COD kind of losing its identity and it losing its ability to craft really honed atmospheric experiences, especially when it comes to, World War II games or historical games and everything like that. Everything has become this conglomeration in the name of microtransactions, throwing time periods or settings or, anything like that out the window. So I think implementing this system across two games that really don't fit together could be a pretty big issue. If they were to say come out with a Black Ops, set in the 60s again, and then the next year they do like Infinite Warfare, and you're, floating through space trying to use, the Thompson or something like that. Like it's just not going to work very well from a ambiance and setting perspective. But again, I can see them only using it when two titles line up. And, we'll talk about that here in a little bit for what I think they might try to do going forward. But, just to note that this system will probably not work in every game going forward or every two titles going forward. Next up, in my opinion, the maps are not really fully implemented and haven't, I was kind of expecting them to just dump all of the maps from last year into this game. And they've been kind of stingy about it. I don't have an exact count in front of me. I know that they've, introduced a handful of them. And I think they've sprinkled them into the main map pool now officially. I know for a while they were keeping them separate, but now I think they're just sprinkled in. And that's great. Now, I don't know, obviously, we're only in season 2 at the time of recording this, so it could very well be that they are going to add more going forward, that, hopefully by the end of the game, all maps from both games are in there. I just don't know. But as of right now, like, they just kind of been sprinkling them in. I think there was only 4 or 5 at the very beginning of the game's life cycle. So that kind of, ruins, they said they were going to do one thing and then only half executed on it. Next up, and this is kind of the last, con that I have written down, is all of this once again is pointless because next year, seemingly, and now nothing has been confirmed on the games or nothing has been released, but if they don't do carry forward again, this is all pointless again because yes, we had 24 months now to play with some of these weapons and work on these camos or use these skins, but it sounds like, from everything that I've heard leak-wise and everything like that, we're just wiping the slate clean again next year. So it is an improvement, but it's not a permanent solution by any means or a rolling forward solution at all. It's very much so, most likely come October or November of 2024, we're going to wipe the slate clean again, and we're going to start all over day one, which has its merits as well. But, just one of those things that, perhaps this solution doesn't solve everything that we want it to. So that about wraps it up. In conclusion here, I mean, overall, I think it was a good system. I think it's great in theory, but I don't think it adds as much value in practice, right? It's one of those things that's better on paper than in practice, especially in terms of the guns, right? The guns sucked out the gate. With having so many things to have to level up and stuff down the road, like they just kind of fall to the wayside anyways. So even if you allow players to use them, some of the other systems and just, human nature in general is just going to toss them to the side anyways. So it's one of those things that I think we're just doomed to have to deal with, whether they take it away from us or we ourselves just kind of put them down. Great in theory, but maybe not as great in practice. It was a great idea to fill out the maps. I still think that holds a lot of potential, especially going forward. That's one of those things, even maybe it doesn't fit the theme of the games, like I was saying, crossing over time periods or settings. You could still put in maps. That wouldn't be the end of the world, I don't think. And it really adds a lot of great value there. And then obviously, if you're a skin buyer, overall, this was a great system for you. If you had a bunch of skins that you wanted to use, the last thing you want is those going away, right? So being told you have another year to use them, another year where they're in the spotlight, that's great. So I think overall, I think it's still worth it. I think it was a net positive, even if it didn't work out maybe as well as a lot of us had hoped, or maybe as well as it could have been implemented. I still think it was a net positive, a much better improvement to the system that we had in the past of just clean slate every year. I don't think it can continue infinitely. Like I was saying before, we can't just every year it starts to snowball and then we have 450 guns and 300 of them all feel the same type deal. But at the very least, games that are released back to back, if they share a similar theme and setting and maybe even universe, definitely should be implemented there. And I've talked about a couple of times in the past of how I think they're going to try to migrate to kind of like a Modern Warfare universe game where, just everything from previous Modern Warfare games are all in one, and then a Black Ops universe game where it's kind of the same, and they start operating with these two spheres of, kind of sub franchises of Call of Duty that all just get rolled into one and snowball in their perspective, lanes there. And this could be maybe the first start of that. But yeah, overall, I think it was a great system. Definitely not implemented as good as it could have been, but I'm happy that they did it, and I'm looking forward to see how they handled it next year. So let me know in the comments section below what you thought. Did you enjoy the carry forward system? Do you think they'll be implementing it again in the future? And if they do, is there anything that you hope they do differently or do better? As always, guys, if you do enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps the channel greatly. And I try to post different discussions and news videos, COD related and other games related all the time, as well as some gaming reviews as well. So, other than that, guys, until the next one, I'll catch you later.